They say silence can kill a soul. For years, I lived in that silence, smiling at parties, cooking dinner, lying in bed beside a man who no longer looked at me. I told myself it was just a phase, that marriages go through seasons, that if I was patient, if I was loyal, love would return. But one night, as I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, I realized I didn't recognize the woman looking back. Her eyes were tired, her shoulders heavy, her smile painted on, not real. And for the first time in years, I whispered to myself the question I had buried so deep. What if I deserve more than this? Before I continue, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that it's never too late to start again. I met Daniel when I was 24. He was charismatic, ambitious, the kind of man people turned to when he walked into a room. I was drawn to his fire. He was drawn to my calm. For a while, it worked. We built a life together. A house with white walls and wide windows. A circle of friends. A rhythm of everyday rituals. Coffee in the morning. Wine on Fridays. Lazy Sundays on the couch. From the outside, it was perfect. From the inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. The conversations faded first. Then the laughter. And finally, the tenderness. But comfort can be a dangerous prison. It wraps you in predictability, in routines that feel safe, but slowly suffocate your spirit. And I stayed in that cage, convincing myself it was love, when in truth it was fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of admitting the truth. The night everything changed was ordinary. Dinner. Dishes. Silence. Daniel scrolled on his phone. I scrolled on mine. But then, without warning, he said it. I don't know if I love you anymore. He didn't look up when he said it. He just tossed those words across the table like loose change. And my world stopped. For hours after, I sat in the dark living room, wrapped in a blanket that suddenly felt too heavy. His words echoed in my head, but beneath them was a louder question. Do I even love myself anymore? And the answer, though painful, was clear. No. I had abandoned myself long before he spoke those words. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went for a walk alone. No phone. No destination. Just me and the sound of my feet hitting the pavement. And somewhere between the rising sun and the cool morning air, I felt alive. Not because of anything Daniel had said. Not because of what the future held. But because, for the first time in forever, I was listening to myself. That walk turned into many walks. Then into journaling. Then into yoga. And then into therapy. Piece by piece, I began to gather the fragments of the woman I once was. The woman who used to dream, to laugh, to create. The woman who wasn't afraid of her own reflection. It wasn't easy. There were nights I cried until the pillow was damp. Days when I questioned if leaving would make me selfish. Moments when Daniel would show me just enough attention to make me doubt my courage. But healing is never linear. It's a dance, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And every setback was still progress. I took small steps. I signed up for a painting class. I reconnected with old friends I had abandoned in the haze of marriage. I traveled just once, just for a weekend, to a city I'd never been. And with every new step, my world grew wider, colors brighter, air lighter. It wasn't about Daniel anymore. It wasn't about saving the marriage. It was about saving me. One evening, Daniel came home early. He found me painting by the window, music playing softly, a glass of red wine by my side. He looked at me as if I were a stranger. And maybe I was. Maybe I had finally become someone he didn't recognize. Because I had finally become myself again. Where's the woman who used to need me? He asked quietly. I set down my brush. And for the first time, I answered with honesty. She grew tired of waiting for you to see her. So she decided to see herself. That night, I packed a suitcase. Not because I hated him. Not because I wanted revenge. But because I loved myself enough to walk away. The first morning alone, I woke up to silence. But this time, it didn't suffocate me. It embraced me. I made coffee, opened the window, felt the sun on my face, and I smiled, a real smile, the kind I hadn't felt in years. The days that followed were not all easy. Loneliness crept in sometimes. Fear whispered in my ear at night. But alongside those shadows was freedom, possibility, hope. And slowly I built a new life. One rooted not in what someone else needed me to be, but in who I truly was. I traveled more, started writing again, fell in love with sunsets, books, and the simple joy of being alive. And one day, when I least expected it, I fell in love again. Not with another man, but with myself. Looking back, I don't regret the years I spent in silence. Because without them, I would never have discovered the power of my own voice. I once believed courage meant holding on, but now I know. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go. So, if you're listening to this, trapped in a life that feels too small, in a love that feels like a cage, in a silence that's stealing your spirit, please hear me. You are not broken. You are not unworthy. And it is never too late to begin again. Because the most powerful love story you will ever live is the one you write with yourself.